Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who is observing Ramadan during this month. We are here with Saffiyah Muhammad, owner and founder of ASM19. We're going to fire off some questions to her about business, entrepreneurship, her company, and her growth thus far. So, Sister Anissa, you can take it away.
So this is a question that we kind of are asking everyone that we interview to start out with. But if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Wow. 3 words. Creative would be one. I'm very manual. I don't know if that's the word, but using my hands to create things. So creative in that way. I am patient. And I am, this was harder than I thought. Stubborn. Stubborn.
Okay. So also, any question that we ask you, you are free to just, let it all out. However it is that you want to respond. Don't feel like you're saying too much. We want to take everything in, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, could you kind of describe the meaning and purpose behind ASM19?
Well, ASM19, first and foremost, is a brand inspired by my grandmother, Mother Tainetta. And the reason why I decided to go with that, with it being inspired by her, is because I started my personal journey of being modest and covering and, kind of just going on in that journey of finding myself within Islam. And she played a major impact in that, or in my modesty, in my growth, more than she actually knew. And I think more than even I knew at that time. But the brand is, ASM are my initials. So it's really me going on, it's really my journey being inspired by her in modesty. So that's the main thing.
So why scarves? For that journey, why did you choose scarves?
So scarves, honestly, scarves was like it was like an inspired kind of in the moment kind of thing. Of course, starting my journey of modesty, it all started with scarves. So the wrapping and finding like different styles and different ways to wear the scarf so that it's not, dull and boring. That's one of the reasons. And then the other reason, like I said, it was really like a spare the moment kind of thing. Like, oh, let's just do scarves. Because I was actually working on a design, which is the garment. I don't know if you've seen it, the Zayana garment. I had that design already made, and it was, it was in the works. So it was getting made. And before I actually released it, I wanted to have something to get my name out there, to kind of build on, build an expectation. So scarves just kind of seemed like the route to go at that time. So.
Okay. And I have to say, at least for me, and also me covering my hair and using scarves, etc., there was only one way that I would do it, and that would just be draped. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I saw you and other sisters as well on Instagram wrapping it in different ways that I also began to experiment. So how did you find all of these different ways to be able to wear your scarf, not only the way that you wrap it, but the way that you match it with your outfits, etc.? And do you feel like it's a form of expression for you?
Well, definitely a form of expression. The first question, as I mentioned earlier, I'm very hands-on. That was the word that I was looking for. I'm very hands-on. So with the scarves, it takes your hands to actually make up, new raps. So in that, I kind of just went hand in hand with what I like to do and, wrapping the scarves. So it wasn't like, I didn't even know at that time. So at that time, I wasn't even in social media. Like I wasn't around, influencers and like things like that. So I had no idea what was out there. So at that time, I was just coming up with different things. And then once I got into social media, opened up, the Instagram account for ASM, then I was like, oh, wow, like it's really a thing. Like, this is awesome, and then I started learning more from other people too. And to your second question, I think that with my outfits, like I'm not the type of person to like match everything to a T. And I was kind of raised that way, where everything had to be like matched perfectly and, not look raggedy and, that kind of thing. And now I'm like, well, everything doesn't have to match, so as long as the scarf has like a little bit of the color that I'm wearing, then I'll wear that scarf. And I think that it gives me more of a say-so of what I can wear and who I am. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's definitely a form of freedom and expression.
Right. So as you kind of described, like you kind of have like your own personal style, and like your brand has this like fun luxe kind of style, and like you kind of step out of the box of like standard fashion trends. So can you like talk a little bit more about that?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I think I get more out of the people that tell me what they see rather than me looking at it. It's much easier to get a perspective on it from eyes looking in than my own eyes who are already in, So the things that that people have shared with me about the brand and how they see it is very humbling, and it's very some things I would have never imagined or guessed that they would, pick up on, because really I just see my brand as like, if we're comparing it to like the fashion of this world, there are a lot of modest brands out there, especially now. Like it's a huge trend right now. It's a lot of different brands that are selling scarves specifically too. So I don't know if I really stand out like that. But I am just trying to stay in my own lane and really focus on bringing awareness to Mother Tynetta and who she was and is.
And also speaking about Mother Tynetta, she talked a lot about the Cultural Revolution, as Honorable Minister Farrakhan does as well. And that's something that, you're constantly putting forward. It's on your website, etc. So how do you feel like your brand contributes towards that cultural revolution and creating something new?
Well, the cultural revolution, I think, has to start within. And I think that's what my brand is trying to focus on as well, is how do we tap into the woman that's inside, their essence, the God that's within that woman. Because the only way we're going to revolutionize or evolve is if it starts with ourselves. And within that, we bring about our own culture. We bring about our own identity as it relates, of course, to God. So we're still working on that. Those are aspirations. Those are goals. Those are things that, I would like to have prominent in my brand, inshallah, one day. But really tapping into the God that's within and begin that revolution within yourself in order to affect what's around you.
So, how do you feel that people can kind of step out of that pattern and to help like create that revolution both within themselves and like outwardly?
That one's hard. I mean, it really just starts with desire. I feel you have to have the desire within you to really step out and not even step out, step in, and really acknowledge and recognize who you are within. And I think this quarantine has been a blessing in disguise for a lot of us because it has given us the opportunity to really look within ourselves and really reflect and really think about who we are. What is our purpose here? What are we supposed to be doing? And how are we going to improve ourselves? None of us are perfect. We all have defects and flaws, and it's about acknowledging those flaws, bringing them out into the surface of yourself and really dealing with those traumas, dealing with those flaws. But it first has to start with the desire to even want to deal with them. I can speak from my own experience. For so many years, I've dismissed, wanting to deal with certain things. And this quarantine has really forced me to deal with it. And so now I'm contradicting myself because it wasn't necessarily the desire that I had. It was just something that had to happen, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. But yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I have like so many things in my head going around. But it is the desire, but it's also sometimes your environment just forces you to do things that you didn't want to do before. And I think placing ourselves in the right environment or the environment that most resonates to you is important in that too.
Right. And I feel like sometimes Allah, he'll put us in situations where we may not want to be in, but we have to be in order to be able to bring out of us what it is that we that needs to come out of us. So like how you were saying, the desire, sometimes us being forced into that and then having to deal with it creates the desire later to want to deal with it because we saw that effect of, okay, this turned out better than I thought it would, or it turned out in a way that needed to happen. So it helps us to be like later, okay, let me just deal with it now so that it can come out the result, how it came.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about your business in the sense of collaboration. You've collaborated with different women. You've collaborated with us. You've collaborated with Dean Dolls. Do you see an importance in women coming together in business and supporting each other's brands? And if so, like what kind of benefit has it been for you to do so?
I definitely see a huge benefit in collaborating with other women. I think it was the minister who said there was like this quote going around like not too long ago of him wanting to see, I think he said, I pray that women come together and make something together to something for the new world. I'm misquoting. I'm really bad with quoting. I'm sorry. But to make something for the new world. And I think that's so key. The way he even worded it is because the woman is the one who brings in the new world. She is the one who, through her womb brings about a new idea, a new human being who has the potential to really change the world. So my collaborations have been with of course, women, and the benefit that I see in it is, of course, the long-lasting relationships. I think that when you collaborate, it's really awesome to develop a relationship and a partnership, a healthy one, and really, especially when you have the same goal, when you understand that, we're here for something much greater than ourselves. When both partners understand that, then the vision is that much more clear and so much easier to execute. So those are that would be one benefit that I get from it. And of course, the other benefit is just working on ideas together, like creative thinking, and like, what else can we do? Like, I'm all about that creative mind, what can we do to impact the world or impact our audiences? Like, what else can we do? Like, there's so much out here, what can we do? And I love when we come together, we can share and just create.
Yeah. So what has been like one of your favorite collaborations? And what have you learned like from that?
I've learned a lot from collaborations. One of my favorite collaborations has to be probably Dean Dolls, because my grandmother was very, I won't say that she liked dolls, but she was into the culture that dolls represented and how it helped children. She was all about children, and education and all of that. So I really enjoyed that one with Dean Dolls. And then my other collaborations, some of them, some of them work and some of them don't work. And I've learned that you definitely can't just go all in with someone, even though that's the feeling. And I'm very much like that. Like, if I'm in, I'm all in. Like, let's get to it. Let's work. Like, I can be very impulsive. And some people aren't like that. So I think I've learned like kind of that balance, learning myself and learning that not everyone is like that and that everyone deals with their business differently. The system that their business has is going to be different than the system that you have in place. And I think that respect is needed first and foremost, on both ends. And one big thing that I learned is have everything in writing. It can be small collaborations. It can be the smallest thing ever. Like, hey, post this picture. Have it in writing. Have everything in writing, because it does go a long way, whether you're working with believers or working with the general public. Have everything in writing. And yeah, I mean, all of it is a learning lesson. So I don't take anything as like, negative or anything that, I should have like, oh, I should have done this differently. Like, I don't beat myself over the head up for it. But it's definitely a stone to learn from, from collaborations.
And that's super important too, because, when you have a brand or an idea and it's like put out in front of people, sometimes a lot of us, and I know for myself too, when there's a mistake or maybe an experience that wasn't the best, it can be so easy to beat yourself up over it. But I like how you said that, you take it as a learning experience. Like, that's something that's really needed so that you're not wasting too much time beating yourself up over it. And instead you're looking into, okay, how can I learn from this experience? What can I do better in the future?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard not to beat yourself over the head, because it's like you got yourself into it, so who else can you blame? So it's natural too. So you definitely want to allow yourself to feel that too. I wouldn't say like just totally disregard it, but keep things professional. You know, you're still a business at the end of the day. You're still a brand. You're still operating as a business, and you want to be as professional as you can. But you can still beat yourself over the head because it was your mistake at the end of the day. So.
And so you learned, you mentioned, learning yourself during this process. So do you feel like during your journey of entrepreneurship and creating ASM19, do you feel like you've learned a lot about yourself and have been able to know yourself better through this whole process?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a crazy journey. I didn't know, like in the beginning, I knew I was creative, but I didn't know that I um liked like graphic designing and like um editing, like things that are mostly on the computer. I didn't know that I actually had I actually like that. um I think that's one of the I think that's what I like most about my brand is that the creating part. So even like designing websites, designing my logo, coming up with like different visual things that visual representations of the brand. So anything graphic design oriented, I actually really like, and I learned that about myself not too long ago. Um, I've also learned that I can be very controlling. I think naturally, right? When you start your own business and you're like, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. And you don't want anyone else to like touch it because it's your baby, you know? Um, but I've gotten better. I think in the beginning it was like that. Now I'm pretty much like, okay, Saffiyah, like just let it go. Like it's not that serious. Just let it go. Um, and I mean, it's a constant journey. I'm constantly learning new things. And I think just the overall process is just you constant learn, you're constantly evolving as an individual and as your brand. And I think a huge thing too, if you're not going back to desire too, if you're not willing to change or willing to become a better person, then your brand is going to be directly affected by what it is that you're doing in your life. And I think a lot because I've seen so much growth in my business, and that's only a reflection of myself and what I've done to improve and work on myself. So I think it's important that, you know, if you have a business or if you have a brand, that you're constantly working on yourself because it's going to be reflected in your brand. And if you're not working on yourself, if you don't intend to get better, you know, may Allah bless you. May Allah continue to, you know, grant to you what it is that He wants for you. But I think it's really important to for that, you know, and if you want your business to be successful.
Right.
And I can kind of understand like that controlling aspect. Like it is kind of like your baby, like what you produce, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, for me personally, it's like I want it to be perfect, and I don't want anyone to see it until it's perfect, and it's not like it's never gonna be perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Perfection is huge. So I don't know if you all are like into zodiac signs, but I'm a Virgo, and Virgos are known to be perfectionists. So I have really struggled with that too. Not just controlling, but it's like if I did let anyone else in, is it going to be perfect enough, you know, for them? I think it's an insecurity too, like making sure that everything is just up to the standard of myself and everyone else. So yeah, it can be very frustrating.
Right. So kind of going off of that, like idea of being able to change. what advice would you have for businesses in being like versatile and being able to like do those adaptations?
Um, I mean, you mean versatile in the sense of like accepting change, like being flexible. I think
Right.
that's something because I actually struggle with flexibility too. So I don't know if I would be the best in giving advice in this. But I think you have to be open. You know, you have to make sure, going back to like reflection and looking within yourself. Um, you have to really just make sure you have an open heart and just open arms to accept anything that comes to you. And faith, having faith that God is with you by your side every step of the way. Like everything that you're doing, He's right there and He's seeing it all, the bad and the good, you know. Um, so knowing that He's going to get you through it, you know, because in businesses, you're faced with a lot of different challenges, like from personal to, of course, business challenges, um, relationship challenges. You're faced with a lot. And I think it can be hard to balance all of that sometimes. But as long as you have that faith that God is with you and that you're going to make it through, then you're going to be fine. I think that's how I've gotten through a lot of my big challenges. It's like learning to let it go, going back to like controlling, learning to let it go and really let God. Let go and let God, because He's in control of all of this at the end of the day. We have no, things that we can't control. That's Him, and we have to let Him be Him. you know. So that
And
would be my advice.
your things like your graphics and your products, there's things that you've added, things that you've taken away. The growth that we see from the outside looking in, from since you first started, you've grown a lot up until this point. So could you kind of talk more about the growth that you experienced and what it took for you to get from point A to where you are now?
Well, all praise is due to Allah. Thank you for mentioning that, and for honestly just being eyes looking in. Because as I mentioned earlier, I really get a lot from other people who are looking in, rather than just me who is looking in. So thank you. Um, I think that throughout the course of the 2.5 years I think I've been in business, it's been risk taking. You have to be willing to take risks, and knowing that in the risk that you take, there's more than likely going to be a mistake. But I think that you learn so much more than the mistake there was in that risk that you took, if perceived properly. I think it's also about having just a positive outlook on things, which I actually have, which I struggle with. And it takes my family and those who are around me to kind of reinforce that positivity. So surrounding yourself again with people who believe in you, who believe in your vision, um, and who want to see you succeed. Because there are a lot of people around us, but do they really want to see us thrive? So surrounding yourself with those kind of people, or surrounding myself with those kind of people, has really helped me. I wouldn't be where I am at all if it was not for my mother. She's like my number one supporter. and just having those people that have your back, kind of like knowing that Allah is with you every step of the way, knowing that those people are there too, because Allah works through people, and you have to be able to recognize when Allah is trying to reach you and trying to speak to you and trying to teach you something, and trying to show you the mistakes that you made. So I think in that pursuit of knowledge, in that pursuit of knowledge, like, you have to go looking for it too. You can't just lay back and think that everything is going to fall in your lap. That's why I think the risk taking is so important, because you're risking it, but the expectation, I think, on the other end of it should be, okay, what am I going to learn from this risk? Not, okay, I'm risking it and, it's going to be perfect. Like, it's going to be great. No, because then when you're setting up that expectation, then you're going to be disappointed. So just having the proper perspective on things, a healthy perspective, has helped me a lot in business.
Right. I think that's something a lot of people don't understand when trying to go into business. Like, it's going to be this easy kind of route, but they don't like a lot of people aren't willing to like take those risks and everything like that.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard because we're, as people, as human beings, we're full of fear, we're full of doubt. We have insecurities naturally, but it's overcoming that. It's really affirming to yourself, at the end of the day, you're in control of the choices that you make in your life. And Allah is only there to help you get to where you want to go. But the choices that you make, those are all yours. And we have to learn to live with those and look at them from a positive way instead of a negative way. A way that makes us thrive and doesn't hinder us.
Right. So that was kind of everything that we had.
Wait, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when you first started, did you feel like you were always, or rather, was it difficult for you to put yourself out there, to show your products and to reveal this brand? Was that an easy thing for you to do? And if not, then how are you able to overcome that?
No, it was not easy. Not always, but I was a person, and I think everyone naturally, we have this thing of, what are others going to think? What are others going to do? And I was like that a lot. So I cared a lot about what other people had to say. So it was very, it was another risk because I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But I think what helped a lot is the environment. So when I actually released the brand, I wasn't in the United States. So I was outside of the country. So my mind wasn't even like where it was on a regular basis.
Okay.
So I was like in a totally different space. My mind was like clear, and I was like, we're going to do this and it's going to be great and I don't care. And then when I finally came back to the States, I think that's where it hit me like, oh my gosh, like I really just went out there and I really did this. Like, now I have to keep it going, So again, that first risk, thankfully, again, at that time I had my mom, I had my best friend, and she actually helped me with launching it. So like the first pictures that I ever took of Scarves, she helped me with my logo. So again, surrounding yourself with those people who believe in you and know that your endeavor is going to be successful, that helps a lot. But I would say get yourself in a space where you don't feel pressured, where you don't feel like you're doing it for others or, you know, any of that. Just be in a healthy space environmentally, like, you know, around you.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about like the past of ASM 19. What's kind of what does the future look like? Like what's next for you?
Well, inshallah, we will expand into more clothing products. We'll have more clothing. We'll have more um, different types of scarves, so different materials, and different head coverings. So we're familiar with the scarves. We're familiar with tams. Recently, we just released the fez, which is patterned right after Mother Tynetta's fez design. So that is another option for head covering. Other options for head covering, inshallah, will come into play. And just more clothing. I think that we feel comfortable where we are right now, keeping it small and kind of low key. And I think that's where I'd rather keep it right now. Just for like personal things, but inshallah it will become, honestly, I leave it up to Allah. Whatever he wants, you know, the brand to be, then that's what it's going to be. But yes, you can look forward to clothing, inshallah, and more scarves.
Praise be to Allah. We are definitely excited and we will be looking out for it. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Wow.
answering our questions and everything. And thank you for your support. And we really appreciate you, the support again. And thank you so much.
Thank you all. I really, really appreciate this. I love what you all are doing. I've been your supporter. I will forever be your supporter in this. I really love it. But thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you as well.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.